This land will never leave you. It's always going to be there. But there's something else we notice in that passage too. The matter is settled. Have I given? We see that in verse number 18 of chapter number 15. Have I given? And what I see and makes a beautiful picture for me, or a strong picture for me, is this is already settled. It's done. It's a done deal. God had all authority to give this land to Abram and his descendants. And this as an unconditional covenant that was settled for eternity past, to the present, and to all future generations. It's settled. So, any other country can say, we lay claim on Israel. And you can say it, but it's not yours. You don't have the authority to lay claim on Israel. The United States doesn't, China doesn't, Saudi Arabia doesn't. Nobody can take Israel. It was given to the Israelites by God himself. When you think about that, you can't help but go through the attributes of God. Now, as we look at the attributes of God, we think of a lot of different things. We think omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence. All right? Let's go through those real quick. I know it's not part of the lesson, but it's always good to remind folks. And so omniscience is all-knowing. God knows all. He sees all. He's omnipresent. He's everywhere at once. And then we see omnipotent. There's no limit to his power. There's no limit to his power. He is immutable. He is immutable. And he is eternal. There's no end. So we look at those 5 attributes, but are those the only 5 attributes of God? No, those are 5 attributes that are distinguished to God. See, the devil doesn't have those 5 attributes, and neither do you. But then we look at a great attribute. And that is an attribute of 4 letters, and that is holy. See, that's the attribute that he tells you and I that we should have. That's what we should be. Be ye holy as I am holy. And so we should be holy. And we will be presented before the Father once we're saved. We're presented before the Father as innocent, justified, holy. Because unholy can't stand before the Father. So then we look at his eternality. And his eternality is holy. There's no end to his holiness. Boy, you let that grip you. There's no end to it. See, I might be holy today and not so holy tomorrow. But with God, creating Adam and Eve was a holy decision. Sending Jesus Christ for Brother Ramey and for Brother Riker. A holy decision. Sending his bride to the clouds, a holy decision. Letting our loved ones have an end to their suffering on earth. We say we don't understand, but we can bank on this. It's holy. Because there's no end to his holiness. Omnipotence. Think if God were omnipotent and yet not holy. See, his omnipotence is bound also by his holiness. His all-seeing, his all-knowing. He's immutable. Every part of him, he will not change. Immutability, unchanging. He will not change from being holy. That's wonderful. And I know it's a little deep doctrinally, but I hope you grasp it. And as we look at the promise that God is making to Abram, the covenant he is making, it is an eternal covenant. It is an immutable covenant, and it is bound by his holiness. And so we look at God as a holy God, and we're so thankful for that. And just a little doctrine lesson, and I hope that you get hold of that in your own life. Behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that pass between those pieces. This passage of Scripture is a powerful picture of judgment as the furnace and Christ as the lamp and the light of the world. In John 8:12, we see that Christ is presented as the light. Then spake Jesus again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. So we go back to, He is the light of the world. It is a holy light. Used to be in Bible college, they would ask stupid questions. Just idiotic questions. They get in, you have teachers. Have you ever had a teacher? There's no such thing as a dumb question. Yes, there is. There is a such thing as a dumb question. And I don't want to hear them. And so, this guy said, raises his hand in Bible college. Can God make a rock too big for God to move? The answer is no. And they said, but you said God can do anything. God can do anything. Oh, no. God can't do anything. He's all powerful, but He can't do anything. He can do anything that's within His will to do. Everything God does is bound within His will and His holiness. And it would never be in God's will to make a rock too big for Him to move. Don't be stupid. Excuse my frankness. I am the light of the world. He's a holy light. He's a just light. He lights our path. He gives light to the blind. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. In Psalm 27:1, a psalm of David, the Lord is my light. I like this part, and my salvation. This is a good one to write in the back of your Bible. He is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Who am I going to be afraid of? He is my light. I like that because there are so many times as a child I was scared of the dark. I feel like Storian tonight, so you're just going to have to bear with me. Are they hearing me online now? Oh, okay. Welcome everyone online. We're so sorry. We have no idea what the devil did to all of our equipment, but we do apologize. When I was a little boy, we had a church in Zionsville. And there was a man there. He was a teacher. His name was Bob Ferguson. He was a giant of a man to me. I was just a little guy. And I would go upstairs. Now, this building had about, I guess, would you call them flights of stairs? If you come up 3 stairs and you have a landing, would that be considered a flight? So if it is that way, it had lots of them. And it's a real old church, hundreds of years old, beautiful building. I think it's an antique mall. If you ever want to see it, it's right on the brick road in downtown Zionsville. The brick street there, you can go in and see where the church that I used to go to when I grew up, when I was a little boy. And so I went upstairs one day and I looked, and they had for science, biology, they had one of those flip paper charts. So here's a paper that shows a person with all their muscles. And then these are all the internal organs. And then these are all the bones. That's some creepy stuff for a little guy. And I looked up and I'm looking at this creepy looking guy with all the muscle and stuff over his skull and eye sockets. I was like, ah. I remember being scared to death. So I went to bed one night and I had a dream. And me and a fellow named John Jervis, I think sometimes John might even tune in. But John and I were, in my dream, were running. And we got in front of the elementary school there in Zionsville. And we were running down a ditch. I don't know why we were running in a ditch. At night, I have no idea why. And out from the ditch jumped that guy off of that paper that had no skin. And he starts chasing me. And I run. And John falls. And me being so amazingly heroic, that wasn't funny. I see you laughing. You are right there, right here. The preacher's not supposed to look at anybody. You're laughing at me. But I grabbed that mailbox. A mailbox was broken off by a car, I guess. I pick it up by the post. Now, I'm about 8 years old. And I swing that around like that guy with blue. Who's that axe guy with blue? The ox? Paul Bunyan. I swing that around and thud right in Muscle Guy's head. And it goes, boop. His head does. And I pick up John Jervis. I'm like, and his head goes, boop, and pops back out. And he starts chasing us again. So I jump out of bed. I'm scared to death. It's totally dark. And I run to Mom and Dad's bedroom. Have you heard this story before? I've been holding out on you. I run to Mom and Dad's bedroom, and there is a man with a top coat and a hat standing over the foot of their bed staring at them. And I get there, I'm like, skinless guy, top coat guy. So I lay down at their door. I didn't know what else to do. Figure if he's going to kill them, might as well kill me too. What am I going to do without parents? Who's going to feed me? And so I just lay down at the door. And I tell you, my mind is nuts. And I lay down at the door, and the next morning, my dad probably tripped over me or something crazy. And I wake up, my mom says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, the muscle guy," and I tell her the whole story. Of course, my mom is, "Oh, honey," and my dad's like, "You knucklehead." And I look up at the foot of the bed. Now, Mom and Dad had a four-poster bed, the tall post, and Dad had thrown his top coat over the edge of the bed with his hat on top. It's an amazing thing what darkness will do. The fears that you'll get in darkness. And I can tell you, you might be afraid of death. But boy, when you come into the light, there's no darkness in death. To close your eyes in death on this side is to open them to His heavenly light. To see Jesus Christ face to face. It gives me goosebumps. I hope it does you too. If you're not sure that you're saved, tonight's the night of salvation. Don't harden your heart. Come to Him tonight. You say, "I'm not sure." You just let us know with a personal message on Facebook or a comment, and we'll be sure to pray for you. Let's continue on. And we'll not only pray for you, but we'd be more than happy to show you how you can know that you're going to heaven. We don't have very much longer. I'm going to go through these, the rest of these slides, hopefully. In chapter 16 and verse number 1, Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children. Now remember, this is a big problem. He's got a promise, but no earthly way to fulfill the promise. God's promised him, you'll have children, but he wants children now. He wants them in his time and not God's time, but God's time is perfect. And she had an handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abram, Behold, now the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. Look whose fault this is. It's the Lord's fault. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian. Oh, wait a second. The what? I wonder where she came from. After Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan and gave her to her husband, Abram, to be his wife, and he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. We're going to continue on, and we will catch those other passages, the rest of that chapter next week. Sarai was barren, and this would have been such a heartache for her. the greater heartache would come because she knew the promise that God had given Abram. So here she looks, she's barren, and that's hard. There's nothing easy about that. There's nothing easy about that. And you can question God and you can doubt Him, Sarah, but this is where God has you for now. And you can either look, Sarah, at what's not going on, or you can pray and hope by faith that He will give you a great ministry and that He'll fulfill His promise. But Sarah's sidetracked. My wife says, we're driving along. She's my navigator. You need that exit. That one that we just passed? Yeah, that one. Steph, you can't tell me when we're at the exit and I'm 4 lanes over that I need that exit. It doesn't work that way. And she says, just do a little loop-de-loop. Just do a little loop-de-loop. It'll be okay. Just do a little loop-de-loop. But you're getting off track. You're getting off course. Sarah is going to do a little loop-de-loop. She's going to get off track. She's going to take an exit. Okay, this is God's road. Let's try this exit. Let's just try and get back to God's road. Oh, Sarah, it's going to lead you down in trouble sometimes. It's not just a little loop-de-loop, Sarah. You're getting off track in a big way because you're doubting God, and He's trying to build faith. Abram took Sarai into Egypt, showing her a way around, around famine. Now she suffers, and she is going to find her way to Egypt for the answer. I apologize. I have no idea. I must have been pre-coffee when I typed that paragraph. So she comes up and she's suffering. We can't minimize this. Here, my husband has a promise from God Himself. And it relies on me to bear in children, and I cannot. Now, before we condemn her, think about how awful that had to be. Do you think maybe she felt like she was holding her husband back? That she was in the way of God's promise? I don't know what Sarai, or soon to be Sarah, I don't know what she was going through, but obviously it was something that was overwhelming her in her mind because she acts on it. Application. You may regret a faithless decision and flee its presence. However, oftentimes when we flee, part of that decision sticks with us. So here is Abram, and I've jumped points a little bit. What nationality was her handmaid? She was Egyptian. I wonder how she found her. I wonder how their paths crossed. Oh, that's right. Old Abram marching his wife through Egypt. Not asking God, Lord, I need you to feed me. Took her into the world. And when they left the world, they took a little world with them. And then when it got tough, where did Sarah go? The same place Abram went. I'll look to the world for solutions to God's problems. Oh, but Sarah, God doesn't have a problem. Abram left Egypt, has grown in his faith, but Egypt had not left him. Sarai has a handmaid named Hagar, who was an Egyptian, which most likely was with them from their stay in Egypt. Abram was at this point, had been on a 10-year journey. And he's now 85 years old. His faith has grown, but her faith was now facing a great test. This wasn't an outward test. Now I want you to get this in your head. this was not an outward test of Sarai. This was an inward test. This was a battle with the inner man. Abram's test, outward test, famine. Sarai is like a lot of ladies, like a lot of gentlemen, frankly. The biggest battle we battle with our faith isn't what's happening around us. A boulder is rolling our way. It's in here. It's those fears, those insecurities, that lack of faith we go to bed with every night and we don't tell anybody about. Oh, don't forget God's on the throne, folks. It's going to be okay. He's going to help us. Oh, it could get rough. But his hand has never been short to the faithful. Do we believe he would have fed Abram? Yes. Do we believe he'll feed us if gas gets up to $7 a gallon? Yes. He loves you just as much as he loved Abram. He's no respecter of persons. He's immutable. And he's bound to love you as much as he loved Abram, because his love is bound by his holiness. Whew. I hope you're getting it. Sarai and Abram had to wait. To wait is often the greatest trial of our faith. Waiting for a heavenly solution to my earthly impossibility takes faith. Now, I don't say many things that are worth writing down, but I tell you what, that one's being written down. I'll go put it in my office because it helps me. Waiting for a heavenly solution to my earthly impossibility takes great faith. You might be looking and, Lord, it's earthly impossible. That's nothing to the Lord. The one who created the earth. He's not bound by the earth to make his decisions. He's greater than the creation. I will not bind God by earthly impossibilities. I will not torment myself in doubting God, saying, but it's earthly impossible, Lord. No, he has a heavenly solution. Hebrews 11:1. We're almost done. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I put these verses in here because this is pretty good. They're great passages for application. And if you were going to write in the back of your Bible, I would write faith beside these and write these references. My faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I can't stand the illustrations where they say, did you check that pew before you sat down? That was faith. Well, it's not faith. You saw the pew. You've seen other people sit in the pew. You can see it. You can touch it. You can feel it. You can sense it. That's not faith. Now, for me to say, Brother Steve, there's a pew right here. You can't see it. Come jump and land in it in front of everybody. He's going to say, I don't have faith in you. But sometimes, Brother Ramey, we've seen it over and over throughout our ministries. There's an unseen path, and there's treacherous waters. We can't see the other side. If you've been there, it'll choke you up. And all we see down there is death and turmoil and heartache and sorrow and emptiness. And I think that's what Sarah was doing. She's looking down into this chasm of sorrow and inability and failure. And she sees God's got a plan out there, and how in the world will I ever get there? So we'll build another bridge named Hagar. And Hagar and her son will bring heartache to Israel. He will be the onaker, the wild ass. He will never be tamed. I don't have to see it to believe it. that ye be not slothful, but followers of them who through faith and patience inherit the promises. Faith and what are our key words there? Faith and patience. Sometimes you can have faith, but you have to intermingle it with patience. Sometimes we have to wait. And then, of course, Isaiah 40:31, which most of you should know. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. So when you go through this progression, these are 3 good verses, and I look at them as stair steps. Number 1, this is what faith is. Number 2, I'm going to have faith and patience. And number 3, God is going to reward me. He'll reward me. He's still there. All right. Well, that's the end of the lesson. Don't stop us yet, Brother John Paul, or did you already stop us? All right. Facebook and YouTube. I want to encourage you on Facebook and YouTube. You can always comment on our page. Send us direct messages. I believe you can do that on Facebook. We treasure you that you are tuning in and being a part of Calvary online. But we also want you to know we'd love to pray for you. And so this is what we've done. We've changed things around a little bit. So you can type in your prayer request. We do prayer requests on Wednesday night. You can type in your prayer request on the comments. Remember, the comments are seen by everyone on Facebook that's part of our group. Or you can send us a direct message or a personal message on Messenger. Send us a personal message, and we will share that with the congregation and pray for you tonight after the cameras have stopped. We respect your privacy of prayer, and those are things we take to God and we don't share with the entire world. But you're important to us. And I also wanted to remind you of our address. If the live streams are a blessing to you, send us a card or a note. Let us know that we're reaching you and what you think of the live stream. Thank you so much for giving us those comments. Don't feel bad about letting us know, hey, there's no volume. We appreciate that. We have to know, and sometimes tonight it happened to be that we were already working on the problem. But it's nice to know that people are watching and will let us know when there's a problem. So if we can fix it while we're going, we'll definitely do that. Well, make sure you send those comments. You can send them right now. We have people watching Facebook and YouTube as we speak, and they'll be sure to jot down your prayer request, and we'll write them down and pray for you as a congregation.